So, Paul, here we are, ATM. Blimey. So, talk to me about these new numbers that came out. 1.5% growth.
Yeah.
Happy days, record January. But that's not the kind of double digit that we like here in Dubai. Talk me about glass half full or glass half empty.
Well, the thing is, look, we are close to capacity. We still think we can get about another 20 million out of DXB. And by the end of 2026, and I promise I will come and announce it on Dubai Eye, we will hit 100 million passengers. So actually, in the context of where we are now, with the 260 cities, the 106 countries, and the 102 airlines, we're not doing badly, Richard.
You're
For the
doing really
11th
well.
year now, we've been the world's busiest international airport, and we hope the world's best international airport. I think that's a pretty good place to be.
It is, and I'm not being a Debbie Downer, but I guess as a journalist, the question I'm asking is this the new normal? We had Q1, you were up 1.5%. Dubai tourism numbers were up 3%. They're good numbers from records, but they're steady numbers. Is this the new normal, Paul?
Well, what we have to do is look at why that's the case. And if you think about it, back to the pandemic, a lot of airlines lost confidence. They retired a lot of perfectly airworthy aircraft and said, we won't need them again. I mean, look at the negative sentiment against the A380 and look at the fact that, Emirates have got 100 back in the air now and passengers absolutely love their aeroplane. They got it so wrong, and now they're scrabbling around trying to extend the leases on existing aircraft. You try and get a new aeroplane out of Boeing or Airbus, 2032 if you're lucky. So the problem we've got now is a shortage of capacity in the marketplace, and everyone post-lockdown realizes they don't want to go through 2 years of sitting at home, not being able to travel. So those two things together have combined to produce huge demand and a shortage of supply. So we're quite fortunate to be in a position where we are still growing consistently.
Paul, the T word is on everyone's lips this week at Arabian Travel Market. Not the T in ATM travel, but the T in tariffs. The message we're getting from the airline CEOs in the Middle East is that it's not really having an impact yet. But what's your perspective?
I would echo that. It's not having an impact. In fact, quite on the reverse, we've seen one airline increase the capacity between America and the UAE. So it's probably going in the other direction. And maybe what's happening is people are anticipating trouble in dealing with America. I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago when everyone in every 50 states was actually demonstrating. So, maybe the world is sort of going to shift around, but I don't think we'll see negative impact. One thing we've always noticed about DXB, if there is a bit of an interruption in demand in one market, it's compensated by demand increasing in another market. And I think, the volatility of the situation, it's far too soon to call, but no negative impact thus far.
Quick word on India, your biggest market at DXB in terms of plane movements, and you were there just a couple of weeks ago. They've got grand plans to, as you mentioned to me, to double the number of airports. But will they allow planes between DXB and Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, wherever it may be? What kind of conversations were you having? What can you tell us?
Well, it's interesting, Richard. If you look at markets where governments have tried to protect their home-based carriers through restrictions, that's actually hurt the economy more than it's actually helped the companies they're trying to protect. And I think we have to get to a point where free trade, and there's no better place than the UAE to demonstrate the impact of free trade, is good for everyone. Maybe a message that needs to resonate a bit further across the Atlantic somewhere. And I think the thing is, everyone has to look and see the miracle of Dubai has been created on the back of bilateral trade over decades. That model is the model of the future and of the past, and really other countries need to embrace it. And India will only benefit from liberating its population and actually creating greater value in its local and international economy if it does actually liberalize its air traffic agreements.
Let's look a little bit more long term. The new airport up at DWC, 7, 8, 10 years away, who knows, but it's coming. I was fascinated to read your comments in Canada a couple of weeks ago about the future of airports and what they should look like. And I wrote down one quote from you, and you said, airport design needs to fundamentally change. So What does it need to change from, and what does it need to change to?
The thing is, Richard, when you go to an airport, I can't think of another transaction where they've taken your money and yet you've got to check in, you've got to drop your bag, you've got to go through immigration, you've got to have your documents checked, you've got to go through security, you've got to go through customs. Why is it we subject our customers to all of those different steps? We don't need to keep doing that. And we have the technology now to be able to design processes and put the technology in place to make it one single seamless transaction. That's the vision we have for DWC Al Maktoum International. And the thing is, at the moment, people are still designing airports, trying to retrofit all those hideous processes that don't need to exist. We're a bit better now. We're actually retrofitting some of the modern processes into existing buildings. But we've got to get to a design, and this is where we hope we will get to with DWC, where we will actually be saying, what's the best customer experience? Let's design for that and then put the systems in place to enable that. Technology exists to do that. We just need a bit more expansive thinking in the design of airports to make sure we achieve it.
And one quote I liked from you, you said, I still want people to come to the airport 2 hours early, but I want them to spend 1 hour and 58 minutes shopping. Is that a pipe dream, or can we do that?
Absolutely, we can do that. If you've got one single biometric point of recognition that covers everything, check-in, passport control, seat allocation, baggage, security, if you can do that in one process, it could be a minute or even less maybe. And that means that you've got every single other minute at the airport at your leisure. And besides, if you haven't had to queue up, you haven't had to have your bags turned inside out by some official, which doesn't happen here but happens elsewhere, then you're going to be in a much better mood. And if you're in a better mood, you're going to spend more, you're going to enjoy more, everyone's going to be happier, and we'll earn more money, which will be a useful byproduct.
Yeah, more Tang, more Toblerones, more Chanel number 5.
Yeah, maybe more of the latter and less of the former. That's what we're planning for.
So, looking at some of the issues that you're dealing with at the moment, I have no doubt that when the new airport opens at DWC, it will be the best in the world. I don't know, but best guess it will be. But at the moment, you're not. I was looking at the Skytrax numbers, you're 11th. It's a good number, busiest international airport. But you're changing the wheels on a moving car with DXB. It's a 50, 60-year-old airport. What do you do over the next 8 or 9 years?
Well, it's very interesting, Richard, because it depends on the benchmarks you use. In some other benchmarks, we are already the best in the world, but whether we are or whether we're not, by whatever measure, we will never sleep in our quest to create a much, much better product for our customers. We're constantly refreshing DXB. Just because it effectively based on old infrastructure doesn't mean to say we have to compromise, and we're actually changing a huge amount. You'll see a lot of changes, new retail areas, a completely refreshed retail product. We're never going to rest. We're going to constantly introduce new brands, new concepts, things that people will be, wow, they've got that at the airport. And when we've done that, I mean, recently we've done Adidas, we've done Five Guys, we've done Lego, we've done so many major brands that have really uplifted the whole experience at the airport. They're happier, customers are happier, and we're happier. That will never stop. We will never sleep until we move to the new airport. And as you say, then there'll be no excuses. It has to be the best in the world by any measure.
Paul, great talking. Appreciate your time.
Good to see you.